Okay, morning traders. Welcome to the morning playbook. What are we now? The 26th of August. So we will be ready to go. All right. So just let me know if you can hear it. Jason, g'day, mate. Good morning. Hope you're well. I'm a bit pepper today. I'm on my second cup of coffee. So for anyone that doesn't know, um, I'll probably keep this short and sharp, hopefully, if I can stop myself talking. But I'll be doing a talk on Spotty today. I think it's around 12. So give me 1 second and I'll chuck it up into the chat and then you can join in. It's more stock-based, stock-orientated, but you get to see my ugly mug today. Let me just guess, give me a second. Copy link, minimize. I'll put that up there. There we go. So that's there's a thing called Ticker TV and it's spotty. So if you join through there, you'll see it. It'll pop up, or you'll see it. No, not with Scott. So he's so have different people on all the time, and I think they try to. Generally, it's your fundamentalists. They try to chuck in some technical analysts, which is where I come in. And there was one tomorrow that I wasn't booked for, but they had a bit of late pullout, so I'll be jumping in tomorrow or today to cover and do that talk. So I'm going to come up with a few different ideas and then chat about some stocks. So yeah, feel free to listen. It's a good little thing, I think. It's a good little show. Ticker I haven't watched as much as Spotty, so Spotty's a segment within Ticker, I guess. Anyway, I'll get up and racing. Actually, let me just post it here too. Anyone that wants to see. And of course, my enter. There we go. So it's in Ticker TV. There you go. So it's good viewing for share traders. Now we'll kick it off. Let me just get organised. A bit slow this morning. Good luck. That's true, mate. I didn't realise what I was getting myself into last time. The first time I saw all the live stuff, was like proper studio stuff coming in, and I thought it was just something quite basic. And then I got a bit nervous on the open when it kicked off, but held it together. All right, so we got. Just want to see it's open. So that's the Nikkei. It's not expecting too much of that. It ramped up yesterday, and there really wasn't even on the 5-minute chart. This is the 30. On a 5-minute chart, I didn't see too many opportunities. I mean, we pushed up into that high there, and I guess when you break that down onto a 5-minute chart, there might have been a buying opportunity, but it was just, look, it was stronger than I expected on that market. And then I'm watching the Hang Seng open, and that continued on up, and the Hang Seng was grinding down. So I was kind of waiting for that Hang Seng to give me a buying opportunity, but it just didn't. And so I think that left me on the outside for the selling, which I wouldn't really have wanted to sell the Hang Seng yesterday. We'll just look at that. The Hang Seng yesterday, it was this action here, but on the 5-minute chart, because it's kind of grindy, and it was, look, it pushed down to the low. So the market actually opened up quite strong, and this was the close of the overnight session. Right? So basically just grinded down, took out that overnight low, the close, and then we saw it getting buoyed. So I'm more bullish on this today. As you got the longer term MAs holding up, you've got this inside level. So that is when the European markets, sort of coming into the end of European markets, they started getting hammered. Right? They were getting hammered and coming to the start of the US session. And the US opened a bit weaker, apart from the NASDAQ. The NASDAQ is the raging bull at the moment. And I think once they figured out the NASDAQ was just going to continue to charge higher, the US started to rally, but by then Europe was closed. But the Hang Seng, what I'm trying to say is the Hang Seng was weathering that storm quite well, pretty well, considering that thing can move like a rocket when it wants to. So if it's getting weathered and we start to lift into the close, once the US starts to rally, that to me is kind of bullish action, and it's looking for a bit of a squeeze up today. So the fact that we're hovering near the previous session's highs up at here, around 25.627, and it was closed at, let me just check, 5. Okay, so well, it's this close. So it's actually rallied from 25.510 up to where it is now. This is the CFD price. It's about 100 points from the overnight session close. So we might see a pop lower, but that's a lot easier to make up. If it grinds lower down to where it closed, or at least whips down there, and then looking for some bullish action. Or it might just do what it did the previous session. We didn't even opened up and banked straight up. So that was a buying opportunity on the 5-minute chart, which we'll be looking at. Then you've got this 25,756 zone that we just have to keep an eye out for, because it's not a key level, but it's just something where it's traded there before. It's a lower high from previously, as you can see, and it has reacted off that zone before, but it hasn't tested it since. Okay, so whether or not that's going to hold up, I don't really care. This could be, what we talk about a lot, when you get a market prop up just into a level, which could be a level, and fall short but consolidates. That to me is a good little. I mean, if you take that as consolidation, that the leg up, we could jam straight higher. That's a big rally on the cards over the coming days. But that's what's going to play out potentially. So if we pop up through here and we start to hold, look for a second push or that second wave that really going to squeeze out. So what you'd love to see is it sort of pop up, a bit of selling coming, trying to pressure it down enough just to get squeezed back out once they realize they're wrong, and that buying opportunity kicks off. Then that's what we'll be looking for basically on the 5-minute chart. So I'm just sort of marking up what I'm seeing on the 30. I mean, if we stop here and we start to back and fill means pullback, take out some of these buys that pulled up, and then we have to hold, retest this zone before we lift again, then so be it. But there could be an opportunity between basically within that 100 points, which, pops up a lot on the Hang Seng. It's great. So the Nikkei, like I said, we got this grinding action down. So it pushed up through a level at around, say, 23,300. Didn't really give anything solid opportunity to trade off, which I liked anyway, which I was looking at, and it suited my personality or trading style. Didn't play out to plan. It just continued to go strong, and that was sort of against what was happening in the Hang Seng, which the Nikkei tends to follow the Hang Seng a bit, but it looks like it wants to be bullish. It's popped up through this zone, and we're sort of in contraction mode now. Contraction meaning we could get another lower high come into play here, roughly off this level of 23,315, and head lower, maybe test these lows. I just want to see what happens first before anything, and you need to see it play out. Now, if we do hold above this level, say 23.2, this zone through here, we start to hold a higher level, that could be the trigger that's going to take us back up and through and really have a good solid day. And that may all play out prior to the Hang Seng Open at 11:15 Melbourne time. And the Dow, Dow's just a bit of a raging bull outside of market because it's easily pushed, so it's easily ramped up. But then we didn't get too much positive action last night. You can see 11:30 that was open. It was sold off in the open and didn't really make back too much. So the Dow was the one that came under the most pressure. So the Dow index was down overnight, whereas S&P was up into new all-time highs. But that's getting ramped by a positive move on the Nasdaq, and then the Nasdaq opened and it was all buying action. You'll see that, which we have a look at. So look at that in a second. So the SPY just before that opens at basically 1 minute or 10 seconds away. That would be interesting. Let's just see if we can watch that. Momentum's been down overnight, a bit of a grind off that level at 60.74. It's just whether it's going to smash down here to squeeze out these buyers, or it's going to smash up to squeeze out some of these sellers, further squeeze out the sellers, and it's not really doing anything. So it's open basically where it closed at this stage. So we'll just see if that can really, here we go, pushing lower. So it looks like it's aiming to squeeze out these buyers off that level. It'd be interesting to see where it goes from there, because it's been a whipsaw. Weakness on the open that continues. Weakness on the opens that bounce back strong, and you get this big ramp up on the open yesterday, which was sold into. So it seems to be up at around that 6,200 level on the ASX is a zone. Let's just look at that. Actually, just look at that there. That 6,200. So it's more if you go back to a 4-hourly chart, which picked that. You'll see this. It's previous highs before, and it's touched it. It just seems to be struggling up there. It doesn't seem content to push through. And I think if the market pushes through there, it's going to be quite positive. And I don't think there's anything out of the US just yet. The US can keep trickling higher. We can go sideways, as far as I'm concerned. The US is always more bullish and bearish than we ever are. We probably match them on the downside, but we never match them on the upside. That's obvious by the fact that Nasdaq and the S&P are in new all-time highs. I mean, the fact that when the S&P was trading, last time it was up here, the economy was a lot more healthy than where it is now. It's completely fundamentals, like we've always said, fundamentals and what's showing on the technicals are completely disconnected. But you can't argue with what's happening. You can't argue with price action, and that's what I mean. Even though I might sound like a raging bear, I'm buying. I'm buying some shares. Hopefully they kick on and we don't get caught if there's just going to be a flush. I've got a feeling it's going to come into. Yeah, we're very conservative. Go and look at around the GFC. I think from what I remember, they were all trading higher prior to that big correction. There was sort of key levels across the board. On the DAX, the ASX 200, and the Dow, and the US markets. US blasted up through. Everyone else stopped and got a bit nervous up there, and then we started selling down as the Dow was going up, and the Dow just kept going up. So it'll continue that trend until something changes it. It won't get conservative like we do. We tend to go sideways and we get a bit nervous. And you go sideways, you consolidate if you're worried about a pullback. Whereas the US would just go up and then bang, drop like a stone, which it did, I think, on the GFC. So the only one that sort of broke into new highs, broke a key resistance level that I was watching, and this is by a fading memory, whereas the others didn't. And we all raced to the downside, but we took years to get back into new highs, and it was only just prior to this sell-off again. Whereas other markets have done it a long time ago. So yeah, very conservative and probably run by the economy is sort of a mining economy, which wasn't doing too well in the last few years, but starting to lift. What do we got here? So that's the S&P, in new all-time highs. Second session, I think that was the second session in a row into new all-time highs. Dow, we'll go back to the 30-minute chart. Dow, you can see, opened up. That's 1130, was sold into, okay, and didn't recover. Whereas the Nasdaq, 1130 open was here. So this candle, and inside candle, green, couple of minor pullback, green, all the way into the close. So that's just ramped. And I think the only thing was down. We've got Facebook was up, Amazon and Google were both up. Apple was down slightly, just under 1%, but that's more than outweighed by Facebook, which ramped up 3.5%. So that's looking good. Gold linked to the US dollar, and the US dollar, it did pull back overnight, and there's a Fed announcement on Thursday. So what they'll be looking at is potentially further pressure on the US dollar, because they might change the wording, and it's only it's these slight changes which lead people to believe they're going to be more concerned about inflation, or not concerned about inflation. They're going to let inflation run for longer and get a bit higher before potential rate rises. So that's what the market will be looking at, and that's what could pressure the US dollar down, and then that's what might find support. And you can see by this action into gold, it's not willing to break down because of that, because of that US dollar move. So looking at the bigger picture, this level to me needs to hold up on gold. This zone through here, and you can see that's your rising support over since that move down at 1670, rising support. We're contracting, lower highs, higher lows coming in. If this support breaks, it's around at 910, and I don't mean just a small flush, a flush and bounce back. You don't want to see it flush and bounce back on the sort of the lower time frames. It gets a good move onto the downside. You'll be looking for your lower high to sell into, because I think there's a lot of juice still. You can see we're trading at 1911. Anyone below, or say, we'll trade 1930. Anyone below that could be holding. If they're still holding through that move, and they're still holding the longer term bulls, which gold tends to have a lot more bullish sentiment into it. Everyone's a gold bull. Everyone's talking, still talking 2100, but anyone on the news is talking that, in my opinion, is talking up their book. They're long to the hilt, and they're weathering the storm. So they're never going to say it's going to go down. It's just natural. So I think if it does crack below that level significantly, we could see a lot of these buyers, as fuel for a move down. US dollar, we'll just look at that again. We're on a 30-minute chart. You can see 92.50 still holding up. This trend up maybe starting to crack a bit, and we're starting to see, I think it's just opening, is it? 10 o'clock. It's not even 10 o'clock, 9:30 today. Yep, so it's opened. I think it opens at 9? So that's the dollar index futures anyway. Maybe starting to find a bit of pressure, and you might find that's more, to me, a bit of squaring up. Anyone that's been buying up here, hasn't been quite easy. You're against the flow. The tide down, you can see it was just down. Got a bounce, sharp pullback. Bounce, took out the highs, not significantly, before we had a deep correction. Lower high in here, so maybe squaring up of some longs and potentially some shorts as well. So it's just preview. So I don't expect any serious move. I don't really expect to move down below 92.80 prior to that. Was it tomorrow night? But you never know. So either way, I think markets will be sort of in a holding pattern, or someone said cruise control, until a trigger. We're still waiting for markets to, what is it called, stimulus, something to happen there. But like we said yesterday, don't think that's going to happen. I think Trump is stalling, banking on trying to keep good with not flooding the market with more US dollars. He's happy with the US dollar down here, but also making things look good prior to elections. Crude, although that looks bullish, ready to break up and continue on that momentum. I think bears being capped on the downside by production, and they just had, was it the Gulf, whatever, the Gulf Coast or whatever it is, production cuts out there because of a hurricane that's forming or expected to come and hit the coast there, which is supporting price. But at the same token, the concern on economic growth and US especially, even though the Nasdaq doesn't believe it, your Nasdaq bulls don't believe it, the economy is not doing so well, and I think crude is showing that. So on the upside, we're coming into this high here at about 43.50, which may flush and retrace, but being stretched into that zone. I'm never confident when a market comes off a low like that, stretches a dollar or so. Well, in crude's case, stretches up into that zone. Expecting it to break, I expect it to flush and then retrace more than anything. It's the same on copper. We were talking about it before. When it's extending to the zone, that's why it's always different to see a market pop up, consolidate below, nice consolidation and look like a buying opportunity, because that to me is more likely to break and just pierce straight through resistance. Whereas when you go up into the resistance zone, I think it's just set up to traps and buys on one side, squeeze them back out and I move down. Let's just look at Bitcoin and stuff. That had a bit of a sell-off. Your cryptos. So that's not looking too healthy. You've got, at this stage, on the 30-minute chart, let's go to a 4-hourly. To me, it's not looking too healthy. It's looking a bit weighty. That makes sense. So you've got this low here, market prop down. I think we sold it down there, made a couple of, or maybe that was earlier. I can't remember now. No, that wasn't down there. It was earlier. It was that sell-off down there. We missed that one. La-di-da, doesn't matter. Sold down here, popped back up, tried to get up through this high and felt more selling pressure. So took out these lows. So we're sort of coming into a zone where it needs to hold up. Okay, and if we bounce off there and we start to get another lower high, you can see the longer term MAs, we're starting to hold below it. You don't really want to hold below it. So if we start to find a bounce and we don't retrace a significant part of that move down off this 11,800 zone, we get a shallow retracement and then hold. That could mean to me we're going to have a decent sell-off. Right, so we're keeping an eye on that. If we get another, so this is what I'm talking about, a shallow retracement, a deep retracement. So you got that, just draw that up a bit. That push down there is quite a deep retracement. You got close to the highs before we get another sell-off. So that was kind of, some good buying strength still. If we don't see that kind of move again, then I'll be concerned that we're going to get a deep sell-off. So we'll see with Bitcoin. Ethereum performed better this session before when they're up, and it's got smashed again. So same sort of scenario. You've got support, not so much in here. You've got support coming through down there. It's rejected, but there's going to come a time when that's going to not reject and it's going to go straight through. All right, so the market's still holding lower highs. The market's trying, if we hold here, you want to see a move up like that. I don't mind if it plows through, but you want to see that rejected and you want to see some sort of lower highs build. If the lower highs build down here off this zone, then I'll be confident to buy at least for a push up to these highs and potentially beyond. All right, but we'll see. The problem is it's not like we were here when it's nice, strong momentum up. And you got this move, and even prior to that, probably in here, we're under the MAs, and that's an important thing. If you hold under the MAs and we start to hold lower highs, you're going to be concerned that we're going to drop. All right, so we'll see how that goes. That's probably about it for the day. We're on the cut it there. See what the SPY's doing. Oh, minimize that. Just get back to here. It's doing nothing. So interesting on the SPY. I don't think there's any sellers that want to jump in here, which leaves me a bit concerned for the open. If we're not going to jump in here, we might find the ASX sort of floats around and then sells off. I'd say, okay, so we'll just keep an eye on what happens in the ASX open, which is starting about now. All right, guys, we'll call it a day. Thanks for joining me. Remember, if you like what you hear, it'd be great if you could leave us a like on our YouTube channel. Or check out the website, www.tradesetup.com.au, and watch out for me on Spotty today. I'm just talking it up a bit. We'll see how we go. We'll see if that third coffee kicks in. All right, guys, enjoy your day. We'll speak to you again tomorrow.